At an altitude of 40,000 feet above the Earth's surface, Wei Chen was flipping through a magazine. This is first class on an international flight in New York, a place with its own peculiar customs and rituals. The magazine covered the story of Superman eliminating bank robbers. No, the Superman in this world should be called the Motherlander. He has the same super strength and super defense as Clark Kent, and also has laser eyes and flying ability. A guy who is comparable to Superman. Wei Chen frowned as he looked at the unlucky robber's arm melted by laser eyes in the magazine. The page turning is a high-definition close-up of Queen Maeve, who has spread across pages. Queen Maeve, the Wonder Woman of this world. She has the same abilities as the Wonder Woman that Wei Chen knew from the previous life, wearing a headband, wearing a leather jacket, and likes to fight criminals everywhere. And like Wonder Woman, she has a pair of proud twin peaks. The world Wei Chen travels through is a world with superheroes. Not Marvel's Women's Federation world, nor DC's Zhenglian world. It is a world of superhero entertainment. The superheroes of this world belong to an organization called Walter International. Although they also fight criminals and fight for justice, most of the time they are busy with promotional photo shoots, company openings, luxury endorsements, and public welfare speeches. They are more like idols than superheroes. The ginger Coke in Wei Chen's hands was endorsed by a superhero called Prince of Nubia. To be honest, he has never seen any Prince of Nubia. The ghost knows which small city this is the superhero stationed in. Wei Chen, a good young man in China in the 21st century, is a good boy who likes smoking, drinking, and swearing. Once crossed the road, he was knocked down by the outlaw madman Zhang San, and accidentally crossed into this world. With excellent survival skills, even if he did not cross the bludgeon, Wei Chen still achieved a new identity in Brooklyn, New York, and started a new life. Now his English name is Eric Xavier. At this time, there was a sullen customer in the first-class cabin, a curly-haired youth in his 30s sitting in a 2D seat. 2D man put down the glass and shouted, "Hey, I'm talking to you. Refill. My glass is empty." A slender flight attendant with brown hair stuck his head out of the cabin. "Sir, the captain has turned on the seat belt indicator, and the drink supply has been temporarily stopped. For God's sake, just hand me 2 bottles of wine, we're only 8 feet apart." The onboard phone suddenly remembered. The flight attendant breathed a sigh of relief and grabbed the microphone, finally being able to get rid of this annoying passenger. 2D man turned his gaze to Wei Chen, who was facing him. This Asian man is very handsome, about 20 years old, with short black hair, a thin face, tough facial features, and firm eyes. But inexplicably made the 2D man unhappy. Probably because there are men who are more handsome than me in the first-class cabin. Just as he was about to trouble the Asian, he suddenly heard a dull voice. Boom! It came from the economy class at the back. After a moment of silence, the economy class passengers roared. The sound of panic and crying came from the first-class cabin. Wei Chen tore his seat belt, opened the curtain, and looked towards the economy class. "Dear gentlemen and ladies, congratulations, you encountered the rarest hijacking incident in history. Please fasten your seat belts in your seats, otherwise I will not guarantee your safety." A short, stout black man in a North Carolina cap, holding a nail gun, aimed at the panicked passengers. A black accomplice stood at the front and rear ends of the economy class to prevent anyone from breaking in. Wei Chen was about to stand up when the curtains between the first class and the economy class were suddenly pulled open, and there were big fat robbers who broke in one after another. The first reaction of those who see him will suspect that he is an extra from the movie Mad Max starring Mel Gibson. Nearly 2 meters tall, he looked like a mountain, his body was uneven, his muscles and fat were stacked on each other, and his arms as thick as branches were covered with tattoos. He held an art knife. "Don't move any of it, don't shout. Otherwise I'll cut off your disgusting noses and stick a juniper flower on it. Hey, man, take it easy. I'll give you whatever you want. Do you know who my father is?" Norton Shaw, The Rich Man, America's Magic Bread. 2D Man raised his hands, as if he wanted to negotiate some necessary for his own safety. Are you looking down on me? The fat man put the art knife between the neck of 2D Man and spit out, if you dare to say more, I will cut off your tongue. 2D Man turned pale, but still squeezed out a smile. Man, I have always respected you, just like I did to my mother. Fatty was completely enraged by the 2D Man. He pulled him up and grabbed his throat. 2D Man lifted his feet off the ground, stuck out his bright red tongue, and slapped Fatty's arms with both hands. The other passengers in the first class had been frightened into quails, huddled in their seats, shaking like chaff. Wei Chen has been an indifferent bystander until the 2D Man's lips turned purple and black, and he stood up from his seat. Hello, sir, I think I have to explain it to you. What? He asked with a relaxed expression, as if he didn't remember at all that there was a dying person hanging in his hand. 2D Man's legs have softened. The one who was about to be strangled by you. Wei Chen organized the language. He's my brother. He has a problem. First of all, he is not polite. Second, his name is Ashley, a man's name is this, what the is he? Mother, you can probably guess the same. Besides, he is at least moderately retarded. In fact, I said that 80% of him are mentally retarded, and you will probably not object. Although 2D Man was about to be strangled to death, he still rolled his eyes at him. My mother often fed him fertilizer when he was a child. I think she probably wanted to make up for the mistake of not having an abortion in time when she was pregnant. Wei Chen's expression is very sincere. You reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Please don't strangle him if you can. Pfft. A blonde beauty in seat 1C couldn't hold back and laughed out loud. The smiling blonde woman looks like America's sweetheart, Meg Ryan, and immediately attracted the fat man's attention. Plop. 2D Man was thrown on the ground by the fat man. Boy, you should tie a dog leash to your brother, and then bring him a helmet. I will think about it. 2D Man knelt on the ground, gasping for breath, stroking his throat non-stop. Fatty walked up to the 1C beauty, leaned forward, and pressed down like a mountain. Little girl, tell me your name. The fat robber seems to be interested in beautiful women. The beauty curled up near the cabin wall and replied weakly, Harper Lane. Very well, Miss Lane, I invite you to come to the bathroom to share your life experience with me. Do you like hot cigarettes, belts, or golf shoes? I have to say, I like to do some fun. The fat man swam over the beauty with his coveted eyes. Wei Chen's thoughts changed. The current situation could not be fooled by words alone. Although now is not the time to start, he will not just watch a beautiful woman fall into the tiger's mouth like this. As an intelligence dealer who has been wandering in the grey border area all the year round, Wei Chen's skills are not comparable to ordinary people. He suddenly jumped behind the fat man, stretched out his foot, and kicked him in the crotch. To Wei Chen's surprise, this kick didn't have any effect. A word instantly popped into my mind, superhuman. Before Wei Chen Chuan, he specialized in gymnastics. He was the kind of master who could do 100 big loop on the horizontal bar without panting. Fatty tilted his head, and with the speed of a raptor, he turned around and punched Wei Chen. Wei Chen was on his guard early, he slammed his head back, and Fatty's punch was thrown into the air. But because he didn't hold back his strength, he punched the plane's bulkhead with a punch. The bulkhead shook violently. Fatty's snapped. Wei Chen even heard the cracking sound of broken bones. His fingers were injured, and Fatty seemed provoked, turned over and kicked Wei Chen with one leg. Wei Chen was kicked in the waist and abdomen, bounced back to his seat, and then bounced up again. The waist seems to be injured, and the knees are aching. The blonde beauty helped Wei Chen up. Are you okay? Her green eyes were like a wounded deer, and she looked at Wei Chen with concern. Not too good. Wei Chen turned over, picked up the towel on the beautiful woman's lap, and rushed towards the fat man. Fatty was also tired of playing with this kid, so he picked up the art knife and stabbed Wei Chen. The two faced each other. Wei Chen threw out the towel and slapped Fatty on the face. Fatty's most vulnerable eye was hit, he cried out in pain, and the art knife in his hand fell to the ground. Wei Chen jumped up again, exerting strength on his upper body, clenching his fists tightly, and hitting Fatty in the face. Fatty's face was not as strong as his balls, and he was KO'd directly by Wei Chen, and he lay down beautifully. Fortunately, he learned rope exercises when he practiced gymnastics with the senior sisters in the gymnastics academy. Otherwise, facing a superhuman with a knife, he would not be able to solve it so easily. The first-class cabin was silent. Several passengers looked at him with expressions of gratitude, admiration, fear, and other complicated expressions in their eyes. Harper stared blankly at Wei Chen, who was so powerful, that his small mouth could fit a cherry. The robbers in the economy class heard the movement here and came to check. Wei Chen bent down and picked up the art knife, ready to fight to the death. It's too late to go back now. The footsteps of the robbers gradually approached. Wei Chen hid behind the curtain, holding the art knife tightly, his heart beating like a small motor. The moment the robbers were about to lift the curtain, the safety door in the middle of the plane was suddenly torn open from the outside. The difference in air pressure inside and outside caused a strong pressure wind, and the things in the cabin were sucked out like a vacuum cleaner. The passengers let out a piercing cry. At an altitude of 40,000 feet, the safety door of the plane was opened, which was an absolute disaster. The pressure in the cabin quickly lost, and Wei Chen's eardrums and nostrils felt as if they had been pricked by a needle. The temperature dropped suddenly, like being in the severe winter of Siberia, and every breath seemed to have ice pouring into his throat. The gust of wind kept pulling him outward. Wei Chen clung to the cabin seat tightly, like a life-saving straw. A deafening rumble erupted from the tail of the plane. The suitcases above the head were all collapsed, and the round, flat-bottomed yellow plastic bowls bounced up and down and hung on the top of each passenger's head, with a transparent tube attached to it. When the passengers screamed, a person jumped in through the security door. It was a superhero in a leather coat and a headband, Queen Maeve. Like lightning, her figure quickly moved to the front of the black robber wearing a North Carolina cap and strangled him by the neck. The ferocious robber was in her hands before, like a quail waiting to be slaughtered, with a look of horror on her face. Crack! The robber's throat was snapped by Queen Maeve. The South American robbers at the tail of the plane saw Queen Maeve's great power and backed away in fright. A beam of red laser hit the South American robber's chest, like iron juice poured on wood, and the robber's chest burst into flames instantly. What? The robber cried out in pain. His ribs and heart were all melted away by the laser. The one who killed the robbers with lasers in his eyes was Queen Maeve's partner and the leader of the Super 7, the Motherland. The Motherland grabbed the safety door and pulled it forward. The safety door, which can only be closed with hydraulic or hydraulic appliances, was easily closed by him. The safety door was closed and the cabin returned to normal. Okay, everyone, it's over. Everything is safe, you'll be fine. The blonde, with a sunny smile from the Motherland, clapped his hands lightly. Wearing a blue tights with a gold emblem embroidered on his shoulders and an American flag-style cape, he looks just like the Superman Wei Chen knew, powerful and American. The frightened passengers in the economy class looked at the sudden rescue, with expressions of the rest of their lives on their faces. Under the leadership of someone unknown, the passengers all clapped their hands. Thank you, native of the Motherland. A passenger stood up and excitedly thanked the people of the Motherland. The natives walked up to a little girl holding a rag doll, bent down, and patted her shoulder. Are you okay? My dear. The little girl nodded shyly, yes. The smiles on the faces of the Motherland became more and more sunny. Hey, let's give a warm applause for Queen Maeve. The applause from the passengers was even louder. Yet. I love you. Maeve. There were whistles in the crowd, and everyone who lived after the disaster was very relaxed. Hey, you have to come and have a look, there seems to be some problem with the cab. Maeve walked over and said that the cab could not be opened, as if someone had locked it from the inside. The natives came over and pulled open the cabin door of the cab. I saw that in the cockpit, the captain was shot in the forehead, and he was lying on the driver's seat covered in blood. The co-pilot held a pistol and aimed at the intruding Motherland and Maeve. It turns out that the co-pilot is also a robber. Hey, relax, relax. The natives signaled the co-pilot to calm down. As soon as he finished speaking, red lasers were emitted from his eyes and shot at the co-pilot. The co-pilot was laser cut from the right shoulder to the heart, the upper body was directly separated from the body, and fell to the ground with a click. The laser hits the aircraft operation panel unabated, destroying all the operation panels. The plane immediately issued a high-pitched siren. The cockpit was full of fire, and the overhead panel lights flashed like ghosts. The strike of the Motherland completely destroyed the flight system of the aircraft. Maeve immediately picked up her earphones and shouted to the tower for help, ATC, Air Traffic Control, ATC. No, the UU reading www.uugonshu.com signal is cut off. Can you fly a plane? Maeve's breathing was rapid. The native frowned, I can't drive, and it's not important anymore. He pointed to the operation panel damaged by the laser. Maeve's fists clenched, you have to go outside and hold up the plane. Hold the plane up? How to hold it? There's no place to stand outside, it's full of air. Maeve's anger kept rising, I don't know, fly on it and hit the plane straight. The native shrugged, at the current speed, either I will overturn the plane, or I will crash through the plane. Maeve's nose shook violently, took a deep breath, and said, okay, then, send the passengers back to the ground one by one. Ha ha ha. The native laughed, as if they heard some funny joke, and then what? Back and forth 123 times? Maeve, think about it. His smile turned into a sinister sneer, he turned and walked towards the cabin door, our mission is over. The plane made a louder roar, and the fuselage turbulent more violently. Some people who found something wrong shouted to the people of the Motherland, people of the Motherland, do you want to abandon us? No, no, I just went to check near the cabin door. But the passengers obviously didn't trust him. The plane was overturned like this. The siren in the cockpit kept ringing like a ghost. If you say it's fine, who the believes it? The crowd started rioting again. Maeve. He shouted at Maeve, who was still in the captain's room, motioning her to follow him out of this hellish place. Maeve was fighting an ideological struggle in her heart. She took a step and walked slowly in the direction of the Motherland. Wei Chen heard the conversation between the two with his unusual hearing. Anger was burning in his heart. The reason why superheroes are heroes is that they have Peter Parker's sense of responsibility that with great power comes great responsibility, or Batman's sense of guilt of walking in the dark and wishing to see the light. Without responsibility and awe, it's like a supervillain. Although Wei Chen thinks that he is not a good person, he is also in awe and grateful for life. No matter what situation he is in, he will not be so indifferent to the lives of others. Wei Chen left the first class, ran to the economy class, picked up the little girl holding the rag doll, and handed it to Maeve. If you want to leave, please take her with you. Wei Chen is not a superhuman and cannot save everyone, so he can only hope that Maeve, who has a little conscience, can take one more person away. Although he was burning with anger at this time, he still whispered to Maeve. Maeve looked at the natives in the direction of the cabin door, and then at the little girl in Wei Chen's arms. After hesitating for a moment, she took the little girl in Wei Chen's arms and walked towards the natives in the direction of the cabin door. Don't be afraid, kid, you'll be fine. Maeve comforted the little girl in her arms. Please save me. When the passengers saw the Motherland and Queen Maeve preparing to leave the plane, they stood up and asked Maeve for help. They rushed near the cabin door, trying to grab Maeve's clothes. Wei Chen was also very scared, but he knew that Maeve was the limit for taking a little girl. The people of the motherland saw a group of people rushing towards them, their eyes glowing red, and blue veins on their necks bursting out, and they shouted at everyone, "Sit back all of them, hurry up, or I will shoot you to death." He was like an angry villain, completely no longer like the spring breeze before. The crowded crowd quickly backed away. "What are you doing?" The natives looked at Maeve with bad eyes. "Take this child and let's go together." The motherland showed an impatient expression, "No way." "What? Are you a fool? Take her down and let her tell the world that we can't help the people on the plane." Maeve was already in a state of panic, her hand holding the little girl trembled slightly, and she could no longer carry the girl's weight. These hands once carried the school bus hanging outside the overpass with 19 children on it. At that time, she felt that her arms were full of strength. So powerless and weak at the moment. She put the ground at the hatch, and muttered like atonement, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Let's go." The natives pulled open the cabin door, and the air flowed in instantly from the outside. The little girl looked at her idol and reached out her hand, wanting to touch her. "Please, please don't leave us." Maeve looked at her in pain and stepped back. The moment she was about to jump out of the plane, holding the arms of the motherland, Queen Maeve caught a pair of eyes. It was Wei Chen who glanced at her. "It is as cold as the sea water of the Arctic Ocean, but it seems that there is volcanic lava rolling in it." Those eyes, hatred and resentment seemed to be able to overflow. Staring at himself and the people of the motherland like a beast. Queen Maeve, who claims to be the embodiment of justice, suddenly felt a tremor in her heart. The fear of ordinary people was the first feeling in her 20year life. The gust of air rushed in, knocking the passengers who were not wearing seat belts against the cabin walls and seats. The nose dived downward, and the crowd screamed in horror. The little lowly holding the rag doll was hit by the dining car and rushed towards Wei Chen screaming. Wei Chen used his flexible joints and super balance to stabilize his body, spread his arms, and caught the little girl. At this time, the plane had lost its balance, the engine had stalled, and it rushed towards the sea whistling. Wei Chen worked hard and returned to the first-class seat with the little girl in his arms. The blonde beauty Harper took the little girl in Wei Chen's hands, put her on the seat on her left, and fastened her seat belt. "Thanks." Wei Chen thanked Harper. He didn't expect that Harper would be so calm at this time. Most of the passengers around had become fools who laughed and cried. Just like 2D Man, because of the double blow of the death crisis and the collapse of the idol, he has now cried into a fool. "You are welcome." Harper, who was sitting opposite Wei Chen, was lip-syncing. She wondered if the other party could hear her voice in the commotion. "My name is Eric Xavier, just call me Eric, nice to meet you." The clouds outside the window whistled and flashed, and the plane swooped like a roller coaster. Amid the threat of death, Wei Chen was unexpectedly calm. "Harper, I hope it's not too late to meet you." There was a wry smile on Harper's mouth, and her voice was clear and distinctly London. It seems that she hid her accent before. "There's still a minute before the plane crashes into the Atlantic. Miss Lane, now you have to ask yourself, is there any secret you want to tell me? Like your grandmother's toast recipe, the place where pirates hide, or leave something a little more artistic. Last words, like wallpaper and me, one has to go." "Oh, sorry, those were Wilde's words, I'm going a little too far." Harper pursed his lips and smiled. "You're such a funny man, and you're really good at it. Mr. Xavier, what do you do?" The calmness of the two's words was in stark contrast to the hustle and bustle around them. He and she seemed to be in a bubble, chatting comfortably as the world fell apart. Wei Chen shrugged, "I used to be a doing nothing, but now I'm a who is about to die." Harper grabbed the bulge of the bulkhead, and the rapidly falling plane made her unable to maintain her position. "Mr. Bastard, I can't smell a from you." Her eyes were still clear. I'll let you see it if I get a chance. How about you, Miss Harper? Me? I'm a writer. Harper's tone was light. Wow. I am a person who likes to read. I said, I must have read your works. Wei Chen's tone was exaggerated. Alice Carter and the Eternal Secret. Harper directly stated his book. Looking at Wei Chen, who seemed to be thinking seriously, she showed a sly smile. You reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Of course you haven't read it, because this is the name I changed yesterday. The original name is Alice Carter and Eternity the Nights. Let's face it, people like mysteries, and when it comes to nights, we know where the story goes, don't we? Wei Chen smiled bitterly. I'm 100% sure that your book hasn't been published yet. Mr. Eric is really smart. I haven't started writing yet. Harper gave a mischievous smile like a child. Then he said in a low tone, I worked as a reporter for a few years, and later became a ghostwriter. I have been writing other people's biographies and recording other people's lives, but I have never written a novel for myself. I want to create my own novel, and it's never finished. No. Wei Chen shook his head. At least now you have gained a reader who knows the ending even if he hasn't read your novel. Infected by his optimism, Harper smiled and said, forgive my spoilers, the only thing I'm happy about is that the printers don't have to destroy half the forest for my thick book to come out. Wei Chen thought this was an interesting beauty. The plane continued to fall. Wei Chen took the little girl holding the doll's hand, letting her feel the warmth of her palm. Sweetheart, what's your name? Leslie. You're a good boy, Leslie. Now, put your head between your knees, cross your fingers behind your head, and don't look up. Like Sister Harper. With his head buried in his knees, Leslie asked in a muffled voice, why? Because it might be a little uncomfortable next. Consciousness was withdrawn from the body, and a dazzling white light filled his eyes. I am. Did I enter heaven after death? Wei Chen used his only remaining reason and consciousness to think. However, if I don't believe in Jesus, how can I enter heaven? Just when the seeds were buzzing in his head, the white light in front of him suddenly dissipated. A woman stood in front of him. In a blank white space, a woman suddenly appeared. A simple black dress with a string of pearl necklaces hanging around her neck. She has shoulder-length silver short hair, and her eyes are as charming as a morning star. Harper. Wei Chen was taken aback. The woman in front of him was Harper, who was chatting with him when the plane crashed. Although her hair was cut short and dyed silver, her eyes became more beautiful. But the body and face have not changed much. Have you also entered heaven? Harper smiled slightly. Do you think this is paradise? Eric. To be honest, it's pretty much the same heaven as I know it. Forgive me, I've only had one contact with religion. One time a Jehovah's Witnesses who came to the door were swept away. Jehovah's Witnesses? Yes, they say that there are 1,440,000 seats in heaven, and if you join a sect, you will get a seat. I don't think I understand. God's green earth has killed billions of people, but he only likes 1,440,000 of them. Harper shook his head with a wry smile. You're still so funny, Eric. Seriously, I modified the entangled particles of your era before I contacted you. This isn't heaven, and your body is still on the plane. I'm afraid I'm about to fall into the icy waters soon. Listening to your tone, I don't think the situation is that serious. Are you not Miss Harper Lane? Yes, but no, I am Harper Lane in 2147. Wei Chen felt a little psychedelic. I have traveled through time and space again? And, if it's Harper in 2147, why is he still so young? 2020, continued Harper from the future, I had a fateful meeting with a billionaire named Norton Shaw. He asked me to write his biography, but that wasn't his real motivation. Motivation? Yes, he wants to start a war against the elites of the world, to challenge those who are smart, powerful, and rich. He believes that if these people come together, they can change the course of history. Norton Shaw. Wei Chen felt as if he had heard this name before. The alcoholic you rescued in the first-class cabin 2D man, his father is Norton Shaw. Harper reminded him. No wonder I feel a little familiar, Wei Chen nodded. So, what's next? Norton established the Titan Foundation, which is controlled by a group of 100 of the world's most outstanding human beings. Glancing at Wei Chen, who was listening intently, Harper continued, the Titans are determined to change human history, and they have accomplished the 4 major wonders in human history. The Mediterranean Sea, the dam created across the Strait of Gibraltar, we call it Atlantis. Wow! This idea is crazy. Wei Chen touted it commercially. Hubble from the future raised his eyebrows and said in a sad tone, the strong rise of the Titans has finally aroused the dissatisfaction of mankind. In 2147, the war between the Titans, humans, and superhumans broke out. The result of the war was tragic, so, we want to interfere with the space-time of 2020 to prevent this from happening. Wei Chen thought for a while, did you lose the war? So you want to eliminate superhumans from the source? It's not like that, we won the war. But humans also perished, so someone needs to completely change history to prevent this from happening. Whether it's superhumans or Titans, someone has to guide and control them. Wei Chen felt a lot of pressure. I was chosen to be the savior. Yes, it's you, Eric. I'm also a future Titan, and I know you. But I'm about to crash. Wei Chen felt that his life might not be enough to save the world. We will open the quantum bridge and teleport you to a safe place. Thank you. However, I'm not a superhuman, so I'm afraid I can't fight those superheroes. Wei Chen felt that since the other party was a person from the future, he must have some black technology, so when would he wait if he didn't ask for it? I also thought of it. Harper nodded, and took out an oversized syringe filled with green potion. Before Wei Chen could speak, the syringe plunged directly into his arm. Ignoring Wei Chen's terrified gaze, Harper explained, this is the new gene plunder module, which transplants receptor molecules developed by the Titans onto your specific genes to enhance your strength, speed, and endurance. More importantly, you can use the obtained superhuman body cells for cloning. Clone. Yes, the ability to clone superhumans. You just need to have access to superhuman blood, and the new genetic plunder module will work, performing superhuman cloning. But you can only have one ability at a time. That is, when you acquire when the superpower of A is obtained, the superpower of A will disappear when the superpower of B is acquired again. Understood, Wei Chen nodded. There can only be one type of drink in a can. But there is good news, you can pour the drink out of the jar and give it to someone else. You mean? As you can imagine, you can transfer your cloning ability to others. Harper explained further. Wei Chen thinks it's not bad, he is equivalent to a superpower maker. As a traveler, I finally have a system plugin. Mom no longer has to worry about me being bullied by Superman. Okay, Eric, time is running out. I will transmit everything that happens in the future world into your mind, so that no matter what situation you are in, you can always take the initiative. Harper lightly pressed Wei Chen's temple with both hands, and a large amount of information rushed into Wei Chen's mind instantly. The number of votes in the Polish parliamentary election next year, the defeat of the future US president, the rise of the rich in the new era. All kinds of mixed information are churning in his mind like a paste. Wei Chen rolled his eyes and fainted gorgeously. Harper carefully held Wei Chen's head and gently stroked his face. We will meet again, Eric. There were endless cries in the cabin, and amidst the desperation, the plane plunged into the Atlantic Ocean. New York, Brooklyn, in an alley surrounded by clutter and graffiti. There were 4 people lying on the ground, Wei Chen, Harper, little lowly Leslie and 2D man. On Flight 305, the 4 passengers in the first class did not fall into the sea with the plane, but lay down in such a wonderful alley. Wei Chen woke up leisurely, looked up to see the somewhat grey sky, and blinked. Is this New York? Wei Chen stood up swayingly, looked at the few people sleeping under his feet, and then raised his head to look at the noisy city in the distance. It's not a dream. 2D Man and Harper wake up. So, don't you know who rescued us? 2D Man didn't seem to wake up from the hangover, and asked Wei Chen in a daze. That's right, I just woke up, Mr. Ashley. Wei Chen's acting skills at this time were very unpretentious. Damn, don't call me Ashley, I'm Grayson Shaw. Grayson roared, apparently caring about Wei Chen's previous teasing. Okay, Grayson. I'm as confused as you are, but it's a fact that we were rescued. Instead of falling into the icy Atlantic to feed the fish, we're in this inexplicable place. Maybe God heard our prayers, maybe someone with magic saved us. The important thing is that we're still alive, right? Wei Chen's tone was serious, with a dangerous aura all over his body, causing the irritable Grayson to take a step back and shut his mouth embarrassingly. Hey, you two, come here. Leslie seems to have changed a bit. Harper's anxious voice came from behind. Walter Falk. Seeing some unfamiliar woman sleeping in Harper's arms, Wei Chen broke out a foul language. The woman in Harper's arms, with long black hair and a tall stature. With her snow-white skin exposed, Harper put his coat on her intimately. Although he closed his eyes and frowned, he could still see that the delicate facial features were somewhat similar to little Leslie. Is this little Leslie? Why did you suddenly grow up? Is it affected by the so-called quantum bridge transmission? Is this Leslie? Yes, the clothes are the same as what Leslie wore before. There may be some changes that we can't imagine. Is her body okay? Wei Chen didn't know why Leslie grew up instantly. From a 6 or 7-year-old little lowly to a 17 or 18-year-old young girl. Could it be that there was some kind of time turbulence when the quantum bridge was teleporting? According to the information he was instilled about the future, the quantum bridge was created by a titan named Yultan, but Wei Chen was not clear about the specific details. Leslie is fine, she seems to have just fallen asleep. Harper carefully checked Leslie's body. Whatever you do, I don't care, I want to say, I'm going home. Now I just want to sleep and forget about the thing. Grayson lifted his foot and walked out of the alley, his head like mush. He wanted to run away from everything and get away from here. But Grayson's footsteps were blocked. A few thugs in leather jackets and black skull scarves stood at the entrance of the alley, looking down at him. The afterglow of the setting sun elongated their figures, and Grayson, who was in the shadows, swallowed. The leading gangster wore a dark red turtleneck sweater and pointed to the black skeleton graffitied on the wall. This is the territory of the Skull Gang. If you don't have a reason to convince me, I'll let you know what happens if you don't follow the rules. Grayson blinked. I'm sorry, I'm not being disrespectful, but we were brought here by some bastards. Dude, we're innocent. Your reason doesn't convince me, Yankee. The gang leader put his right hand into his pocket and took out a beautiful butterfly knife. With a flick of the wrist, the blade was exposed from the detached handle. Grayson looked at the gangster's face, a little dazed. I was just cleaned up by the gangsters on the plane. I never imagined that after escaping from the nightmare, I would face the situation of being cleaned up. Can't help but feel sadness in my heart. Suddenly, the gang leader's wrist was grabbed by a strong hand. The other hand hit him in the face like a baseball bat. It was so fast that it was impossible to see the trajectory of the punch. The head of the gangster gave a hum, and the nosebleed spurted out with a poof. The butterfly knife fell from his hand and hit the ground. What? The leader made an earth-shattering cry. When the rest of the gangsters saw the boss being beaten, they immediately rushed up screaming. Wei Chen quickly punched. When the adrenaline was soaring, he felt that everything around him was slowed down. The punches and kicks of the gangsters are as slow and sluggish as a slow-moving movie. He can easily catch punches and counterattack. The most profound feeling is that the agility and strength of the body have undergone earth-shaking changes. He can easily kick a thug out a few meters. If it used to be the level that ordinary people can play, now Wei Chen feels that he has the level of the strongest on the surface Fan Ma Yongjiro. I've never heard of the Skeleton Gang, but now you have to remember me, the boss of the Fist Gang, who can beat you to with just my fists. Get out of here, or my fists won't be so gentle. Wei Chen said arrogantly to the gangsters. The beauty Harper next to her is already staring. After driving away the gangster, Grayson stood in the alley with shame on his face. He seemed to have something to say. Do you think I'm an asshole? Grayson asked Wei Chen. People have self-knowledge, and I'm very glad that you have such a quality. Grayson sighed, leaning half-body against the wall. About last year, my father Norton was determined to start a Titan Foundation. I don't know what that was about, but I was because he didn't leave me a penny. He's also determined to ask a biographer to help him write his plans, and of course I now know that writer is Harper, and lo and behold, all things in the world are such a coincidence. All in all, I was mad when I found out about it. Very angry. We had a fight that day, and I even called him a prostitute who was and had to set up a torii. Wei Chen knew what he said. If history does not change, the Titan Foundation founded by his father will change the whole world. I was terrified at the time, a piece of junk with no life skills and nothing to do, and when he was about 30 his father told him, "Go and make a living, I'm doing it for your own good. Put yourself in your shoes, would you collapse if you were me? So I can never be you." Wei Chen shrugged his shoulders. Maybe, so I've been addicted to alcohol, hatred and hostility to everyone. Wei Chen didn't speak, and the alley was surrounded by silence. Grayson stood up straight and looked into Wei Chen's eyes. "But now, man, you saved me twice, so I want to repay you." "Repay?" "Yes, you will see my sincerity. In addition to repaying you, I will also take revenge on a bastard." Wei Chen guessed that the he was talking about was from the motherland. "Motherlander, I'm his fan. But when you know he's a cold-blooded lunatic, that feeling of being deceived. I want to him. He's not crazy. Yes, so let's cooperate. Once he finds out that we are alive, he will definitely shut up." Wei Chen smiled slightly. The Avengers? Not a bad idea. Water International Corporation Building, 99th floor, meeting room. As an international company spanning pharmaceuticals, security, scientific research, and food, Walter is one of the most powerful companies in the United States. With assets of tens of billions of dollars, the most well-known company is the largest superhero operation company in the United States. It has more than 200 superheroes under its banner and is very powerful. The most popular and strongest is the Super 7. Captain of the Super 7, a native of the motherland, a replica of Superman. Locomotive, a black man with the same abilities as the Flash. The speed is fast and the agility is like the wind. Of course, it is also one of the best in terms of physical strength, otherwise it will not be able to withstand the physical damage caused by high-speed movement. Maeve, a copy of Wonder Woman. However, there is no equipment such as Wonder Woman's mantra lasso, Vulcan sword, etc. Black, a guy wrapped in a black battle suit, good at equipment and fighting, with amazing strength and speed. In the deep sea, it can communicate with fish, replicating the Sea King. Transparent people can be invisible. Lamplighter, a copy of Martian Manhunter, is good at arson, and is currently retired. The transparent man is holding a pen and tapping the table. Since he is invisible at this time, he can only see a set of twisted clothes swiping with a pen there, which is very funny. Let's get back to the point, this is a very serious crime. These dare to touch my movie, and it was pirated 3 weeks before it was released. The Transparent Man's film Transparent Man 2, The Power of Invisibility is about to be released, and he is very angry that the source of the film was leaked. Seeing that the others were indifferent, the Transparent Man increased his voice. As soon as you walk down Fifth Avenue, you can see a pile of unlicensed Motherland t-shirts, and Walter spends $1.2 billion every year on copyright infringement, all of which it's the money deducted from our pockets, and each of us has to share 400 or 500 million, right? The locomotive acted astonished. What the hell? So you have 400 million yuan? Hey hey! The captain of the Motherland knocked on the table. My God, we are the 7 giants. It looks like a giant, arguing about some small money. Well, now I want to hear it. You all save this week. How many people? Xian Se, let's start with you. At this time, a group of visitors came to the first floor of the water building. As the external window of the water company, the water building will open specific floors for tourists to visit on Saturdays. The tour guide group that was visiting at this time was a small group from Los Angeles. A black female employee with a thin waist and narrow shoulders and a huge buttocks is eloquently introducing the development history of water company to the tourists. Sorry, I don't quite understand something. A man with extraordinary temperament, dressed in black with white dots, stood up. Although he was a little upset when someone interrupted him, the black woman forgave him under the handsome appearance of the other party. Please speak. Aren't superheroes, or the definition of superpowers, people who uphold justice, stand up in danger, have a sense of responsibility and don't ask for anything in return? In my opinion, the group of superheroes from VOT is more like superstars. Forgive me for being so blunt because your superheroes don't seem like the kind of people who don't expect anything in return. The black female employee smiled awkwardly. She is a staff member of the publicity department of the water company, and she only occasionally explains for tourists part-time. It's like this. Our superheroes don't ask for anything in return. They often help citizens across the United States and fight crime, and they never ask for anything in return. The youth showed a puzzled look. However, you package your superheroes to be the same as those who sing, dance and act in movies. Package their appearance, arrange their variety shows and interview shows, and set up their personalities. Their portrait rights. Arranged on various merchandise packages. The young man took out a package of potato chips with a locomotive printed on the package. Look, super speed potato chips, the same speeding experience as a locomotive. To be honest, the potato chips in my house are almost surrounded by your superheroes. He pointed to the various movie posters hanging on the walls of the Walter Company. Your superheroes have appeared in various movies, including various bad ones. How much box office did we contribute to you? The black woman was speechless, not knowing how to answer. The young man changed his serious face and suddenly showed a hearty smile. Haha, I was just joking. In fact, I like your superheroes very much, especially from the motherland. Can you help me get an autograph? As if receiving amnesty, the black woman breathed a sigh of relief. Yes, sir. This young man wearing a black trench coat with white dots is Wei Chen, who returned from the death flight. He walked over to a portrait, looked at the people of the motherland with bright sunny faces, and fell into contemplation. In Wei Chen's eyes, these superheroes are indeed no different from stars. They are not as upright and orderly as they appear on the surface. Their ugly human nature is wrapped in their bright coats, and when they are uncovered, they are all rotten and unbearable. The company has established a character design for superheroes and guided the people who eat melons to chase the stars wildly. Commercial capital manipulates the public and public opinion, promotes the character and characteristics of the so-called superheroes, and covers up various unspoken rules and activities in the dark. All the people are buried in ignorance and ignorance. In Wei Chen's eyes, they are not superheroes, but just a group of pawns under the control of capital. The flag has a few more halos, and it is still someone else's tool. If Wei Chen starts a war with the motherland, his opponents are not only the motherland and the Super Seven, but also the capital forces of the world standing behind them. A long way to go. However, Wei Chen had the time and energy to play with them. I met a professional gambler who couldn't sleep because he was too tired. Wei Chen's cell phone rang. The song was The Gambler by Kenny Rogers, which Harper set for him. Since returning to New York, Harper has been dating Wei Chen. Although there is no confirmed relationship at present, Harper seems to be acting as Wei Chen's girlfriend. The phone ringtone is also set to be the same as Harper's. To be honest, he was not disgusted. He was an orphan in his previous life, but this time he traveled to this world with his body, and he has always been alone. It is also good to have a caring girlfriend. Harper has a good face and a good figure. She is such a caring little woman, and she is also a talented girl. Wei Chen couldn't be more satisfied. To some extent, this Flight 305 was a blessing in disguise. I'm Zeals. Eric, if you don't come back, I'm going to pee on your Sex and the City DVD. By Muang, I've been so busy building a company that you don't even see a shadow. Leslie, that changed overnight. The big Leslie has been arguing and refused to do the inspection, so come to the company quickly. 2D male Grayson yelled over the phone. Since Flight 305 crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, and only a small part of the wreckage of the plane was found, the outside world has assumed that all the people on the plane were killed. Grayson's father held a grand funeral for him. In Grayson's words, it was a funeral that he couldn't help crying. With gratitude and excitement, Grayson went to see his father, and almost scared his father out of a heart attack. After a heart-to-heart conversation, Grayson's father agreed to his entrepreneurial move. However, since Grayson was still a dead man at this time, Wei Chen had no choice but to act as the leader of the company. Wei Chen used a fake identity when boarding the plane, so he was not afraid that others would find out that he had boarded the plane. Poor Grayson, in order to avoid being silenced by the motherland, he could only temporarily die socially. Harper is British and a writer who likes to stay at home, so social death has little impact on her. Within a month, Grayson went to the British Virgin Islands, Bermuda, and other places to register a large number of offshore funds and leather bag companies for future use. Registering an offshore company in these areas not only has a high degree of confidentiality, but also has no tax, only a small management fee is required, and the most important point is that there is no foreign exchange control, capital can flow freely around the world, and financial operations are very convenient. If you want to play the capital game, risk aversion is necessary. So, half a month ago, the first company registered in the name of Wei Chen appeared in front of everyone. Chenexi Investment Group, with a registered capital of 50 million. In terms of equity setting, Wei Chen personally holds 50%, Ruby Fund holds 30%, ABC Fund holds 5%, Baha'i Capital holds 5%, and Green Sparrow Capital holds 10%. Except for the ABC Fund, which is Grayson's father's personal entrepreneurial youth support fund, the rest are Grayson's registered offshore venture capital firms. As for Wei Chen's personal holding of 40% of the shares, it was given to him by Grayson and his father, the old Norton. Maybe he saw Wei Chen's potential, maybe he was simply repaying him for saving Grayson's life. In short, Wei Chen suddenly became a multimillionaire. Although he feels that his lifestyle is still the same as before. To be honest, Wei Chen was still a little jealous of Old Norton. The future Old Norton created the Alliance of Titans, a behemoth that changed the world, and the whole world and superhumans crawl under his lewd power. They even solved the ultimate proposition of mankind immortality, but also dragged the whole world into the abyss. But Grayson ran up and down, established the company, and gave up most of the shares to Wei Chen, which really moved Wei Chen. Although Wei Chen believes that with his knowledge of what will happen in the future, it is easy to make money. But still have to accept each other's feelings. Walk into Wall Street. The streets are full of bright young men and women in suits, ties, and confident smiles. It seems to have come to a place full of elites and money. The advertising screen of the building is playing a speech from Ms. Madeline, Vice President of Water International. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt that this is the golden age of the superhero industry. This year, our net profit has increased by 100%. 14th, our latest film, G-Men, War of the Worlds, grossed $700 million worldwide. It seems to be advocating the advantages and benefits of the superhero industry to the capital of Wall Street. Wei Chen himself has no feelings for Wall Street, but Grayson has always insisted that Wall Street is the holy land of the global capital market, and a foothold here is a sign of strength in itself. It just so happens that Wei Chen's future materials contain a lot of technology and companies that will take off in the future. Taking advantage of the profits advantages and investing in venture capital, he can enter the game ahead of schedule and build a capital empire. Then play against the capital behind the so-called superheroes. Crossing Broadway, turning around a bustling street corner. A woman suddenly bumped into Wei Chen. When the woman lost her balance, she leaned back. Because it was a corner, her vision was blocked, and because the woman was walking in a hurry, she directly bumped into Wei Chen. Wei Chen sensed the other party in advance, but he didn't expect the other party to slam into it, so he didn't dodge. His body flexibility and sensitivity are far beyond ordinary people, and he grabbed the woman's hand to prevent her from falling backwards. But the documents in her arms were not so lucky, and they scattered all over the place. Only then did Wei Chen see the other side clearly. Around the age of 20, with golden red shawl, long hair and delicate features, the upper body is a white short-sleeved pair, the lower body is a pair of light blue jeans with a black floral belt, and a pair of high-heeled shoes about 10 centimeters long. Wei Chen made a comparison. His face was a little worse than Harper's, but his body was very hot. The beauty immediately released her hand and apologized to Wei Chen. "I'm sorry, I'm really sorry for bumping into you all of a sudden." As she apologized, she bent down to pick up the documents. Wei Chen was not in a hurry, so he bent down to help her pick up the documents. "It's okay, I was not careful, I should apologize." When picking up the papers, Wei Chen found a page with the words "Assistant to the President of Genexi Investment Group Self-Assessment Unit" written on it. He was a little surprised. "Did you apply for a job at Genexi Investment Group?" Hearing this sentence, the beauty lowered her head even lower. "Yes, but I have no chance." Her voice was faintly crying. www.mtlnovel.com. "Oh? Why do you say there is no chance?" Wei Chen became more and more curious. The beauty may be in a bad mood at this time, and she wants to talk to someone. "This morning, when I was making coffee, I accidentally spilled the coffee on my carefully prepared clothes. It was really bad, I was delayed for 15 minutes. You know, if you're a minute late for an interview, that's a death sentence." The beauty said miserably. "I'm always like this, always everything up at a critical moment." Wei Chen handed her the document and comforted, "Maybe it's not that bad, I just have something to go to Genexi, let's go together. Maybe you are lucky, the candidates ahead of you are not over yet." "Okay, thank you for your comfort." The beauty obviously didn't have much confidence, but she still followed Wei Chen to the Genexi group. "My name is Kate, Kate Fox. Did you also go to the Dawn group for an interview?" The beauty named Kate took the initiative to ask Wei Chen. "Well, that's about it." "Are you interviewing the assistant to the president?" "Yes, I have been preparing for this for a week." Kate immediately became emotional when it came to work. "I am a mathematics major under the School of Financial Engineering at Cornell University, mainly doing optimization. However, I became interested in the stock market in high school, when my dream was to be a quant." "Quant?" Wei Chen didn't quite understand the meaning of this word. "It's financial absenteeism. Usually, we use this term to call those nerds who do math and finance." Wei Chen nodded and understood. It's almost like a code farmer or something. After chatting for so long, I still don't know your name. Kate suddenly remembered that she hadn't asked the other person's name. Eric, Eric Xavier. Mr. Xavier, what do you do? Kate asked curiously. Actually, I'm a fortune teller. Wei Chen said seriously. Fortune teller? Is it the kind of gypsy who holds tarot cards for divination, or touches a crystal ball? Or is it a priest of a mysterious church? Kate held back her smile and tried her best not to lose her temper. None of them. I only occasionally work part-time as a fortune teller, but I should be regarded as the most skilled group of people. Just like now, Miss Fox, I can see one of the most unforgettable events in your life. Real. Kate's eyes widened, seeing that Wei Chen's expression didn't seem to be fake, so she asked, then please tell me the most impressive thing in my life. To be honest, I think my life is terrible, so much so that I forget the things that were meaningful or memorable to me. That should have been 4 years ago, one summer night, when the fireflies were dancing in the woods and the grass. You were driving down a country road in a Honda hatchback. You were about to drive to your grandmother's house, and you were screwed on the road. Turn on the radio button, Club 8's December Love plays, and you sing along. Wei Chen's voice was flat, but Kate quickly fell into a mixed memory. Because you're vulnerable and I'm sentimental. One night 4 years ago, Kate was driving a Honda car, humming this cold and romantic song, and driving on a deserted road. When the car turned a corner, the engine made a squeak scream. In the illumination of the headlights, a figure standing in the middle of the road was reflected. She was wearing a grey tights and a hood, standing in the middle of the road like a scarecrow. In order to avoid her, Kate kept turning the steering wheel, her knuckles turning white. At the same time, she slammed on the brakes hard. The tires screamed harshly like lambs to be slaughtered. The whole body rammed sideways into a huge oak tree by the side of the road. The car finally came to a stop, inches from the oak tree. The field was silent, except for the screeching sound of the gradually cooling car engine. Kate seemed to want to cry, but she laughed again in a blink of an eye. How lucky she is still alive! However, a car drove in the other direction, until the bright front cut through the darkness of the night. It was a pickup truck full of paint. Kate looked up in horror and saw the impending doom. She hurriedly unfastened her seat belt, but unfortunately she was in such a hurry that she couldn't unfasten it for a while. She then honked her horn loudly, but the pickup truck was unmoved. She called for help to the strange woman standing in the middle of the road, but the woman just turned her head slightly, glanced at her, and walked away expressionlessly. Kate recognized the woman, the superhero who is often seen on TV. On TV, she often has a kind smile on her face, shouting out the slogan "Save the People, Women's Equal Rights," which is in stark contrast to the indifferent face now. Wei Chen paused. Of course, you finally unbuckled your seat belt and escaped the moment the pickup hit. The kind girl was lucky to save herself. It's a good ending. There was a storm in Kate's heart. She had never mentioned this to anyone. How could a stranger who has just met know so clearly? Are you a wizard? Kate stammered. Wei Chen smiled and shook his head. The fortune teller will only see what fate tells him to see. In fact, the fortune tellers are all Wei Chen's nonsense. He knew the major events in the future development of history, and he was very clear about some key details of history. When Kate Fox described her experience, Wei Chen quietly searched for her information. When I retrieved it, I was startled. This beauty will also be a great person in the future. She is one of the 100 Titans of the Titan Foundation founded by Norton Shaw, and she is a leader among the human elites. The future Titan Foundation has created 4 miracles. The first miracle is the creation of the quantum network Q_net. Since the founder Yul Tan is a typical nerdy scientist, Kate is basically responsible for the company's operations and publicity. She lived up to expectations and successfully developed Q_net into the world's largest internet technology company. The reason why Wei Chen knew about what Kate went through was because he read the autobiography written by Kate after he became famous. The genetically optimized body can read and write at an unusually fast speed, so it took Wei Chen half a minute to finish reading this book. Kate described this event in detail in her autobiography and called it the most unforgettable event in her life. Of course, Kate is just a small person now, and she will not think that she will publish a book in the future. Right now, she only thinks that Wei Chen is really an amazing magician. Or he is a time traveler similar to Doctor Who pulls out a time police booth at any time, shuttles between the past and the future, so he sees his past. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com. Then could I be Doctor Who's girlfriend, Rose Taylor kind? My God, could this man in front of me be my future boyfriend? This is crazy. Kate falls into a sweet fantasy. If Wei Chen knew about Kate's fantasy, he would definitely introduce her to Harper. As a down-to-earth British, Harper is a big fan of Doctor Who. The two of them must be very topical. The two quickly arrived at their destination, a skyscraper at 40 Wall Street. Chinexai Group is located on the 36th and 37th floors. Entering the hall, Kate couldn't help swallowing because of the splendid decoration. Compared with this, the small company she practiced in before was like a rundown beggar's home. Kate quietly took out a small mirror and applied lipstick. Sorry, Mr. Xavier, I'm going for an interview. I'm 15 minutes late, may the Lord bless me. Kate made an apologetic gesture. Wei Chen nodded, turned around and looked around at the decorations. The space is spacious and bright, and the corridor seems to be equipped with spotlights, which is extremely exaggerated. The building is surrounded by panoramic glass, and the city skyline is unobstructed. The coffee table is placed in the corner, where several latte lovers are now sipping on it. But Kate seemed to be in a little trouble. The girl at the front desk told her that the interview time had passed, but Kate still begged the girl to give her a chance. Hey! Maybe you should give this girl a chance. Although she made the mistake first, we should give the newcomer a little patience. Wei Chen suggested to the girl at the front desk. Sorry, this is not something I can call the shots. The Mexican-American girl at the front desk shook her head expressionlessly. It seems that the girls at the front desk don't know their president. But it's not surprising that Wei Chen was in the company for the first time, and it was normal that the people inside didn't know him. No, Mr. Xavier, don't bother you. It's my fault that I'm not on time, this lady is right, I should focus on preparing for the next time, instead of asking for others. Generosity and compassion. Kate said frustratedly. She thought that Wei Chen was also here for the interview, and did not want to delay his own interview because Wei Chen argued with the other party. Wei Chen took a fancy to Kate and planned to train her to be his own manager. Of course, he wouldn't let her go so easily now. I'm Eric Xavier, I think, you should have heard my name. Wei Chen smiled and said to the girl at the front desk. Mr. Xavier, you're telling the truth? No, I mean, are you really Mr. Xavier? The face of the girl at the front desk changed suddenly, and she stammered when she spoke. Of course, otherwise I'll call Grayson Shaw, he should be in the company. Wei Chen took out his phone. Of course not, President, Mr. Grayson is waiting for you in the President's office. The girl at the front desk immediately adjusted her emotions. Thank you. Also, organize the personnel department to conduct another interview with Miss Fox. After the interview is completed, submit the interview results and materials to me. Okay, President. The girl at the front desk tried her best to restrain her rapid breathing. Wei Chen walked towards the President's office, and before leaving, he quietly winked at Kate. For a moment, the reception area was silent. Several employees hiding in the corner drinking coffee stood up with ugly expressions. Will the President make a bad first impression when he sees us drinking coffee? Phil, if I hide in the toilet and watch Singularity, I won't be seen by the President, and I shouldn't drink coffee with you. Hey, you two take it easy, it's just a small matter. However, our president is Asian, which is really surprising. The three male employees whispered in disgust. And Kate has now turned into a scarecrow. The pestle stood there like a chicken, motionless. I just had a chat with the president of the company and complained to him about my bad experience. And I also fantasize about him being Doctor Who. Kate Fox's secret was known by the company president. Could it be that the overbearing president and the company's little girl are about to start a Mary Sue love story? Embarrassing. Kate has fallen into an inextricable pink madness. In the president's office, Wei Chen sat on the manager's chair and stared out the window. Grayson, to be honest, my temperament is not suitable for being a president. Grayson, wearing a baseball cap and an open sweatshirt, pulled out a bottle of whiskey from the high-end liquor cabinet. I agree, but I'm socially dead. This president of yours was unexpectedly idle, and I broke my leg instead. Already. If you want leisure, you can apply for retirement. Wei Chen got up from the leather chair. I must say, Grayson's voice was hoarse, neither you nor me should retire. Retirement ruins a person's life, and my uncle's tragic experience taught me this truth. Taking a gulp of the tequila, Grayson put the glass back in the cupboard. Damn, I'm going to drown in the drink one day. Well, forget about my stupid gun-swallowing uncle, let's get down to business. Wei Chen asked directly, where is Leslie? That's exactly what I'm talking about, Grayson said. Not only has Leslie aged 10 years since returning from the flight. Her body also seems to be transforming into superhuman, you know, that's scary. Signs. Our purpose is to kill those superhumans, she can't be that thing. Wei Chen turned his attention to Grayson. Grayson, I was eating oatmeal with Leslie 3 days ago. She is healthy like an elephant. You said that you would have a comprehensive check on her, and I gave it to you. Grayson disapproved. She's okay, she's just a lot stronger and has been a little fidgety lately, so that's not a big deal. You know, I'm a swinger, and I'm not very good at medicine. I can only hope come and stay with Leslie, so maybe she can continue to cooperate with the doctor for the examination. Wei Chen nodded, yes, our medical department has to add more talents. Grayson, the more senior medical talents in the United States, the better. Also, Wei Chen tapped on the table, Grayson, even if Leslie has superpowers, that's a gift from God. She's our superhero, she's a gift from heaven. Those at the water company separate. Okay, you're right, I'm just worried about the uncontrollable growth of the little bee. Grayson spread his hands. Very good, there is one more thing. I have already determined the first investment target of Chinexai Company Yultan. This is his information I compiled to help him complete that project. Wei Chen handed Grayson a stack of documents. Well, the characteristic of wage earners is that holidays can be ruined at any time. You have successfully made me experience the nightmare of wage earners. Grayson took the materials, and Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com shrugged. I'm going to see Leslie. But, until then, what about the matter of setting up the materials and weapons lab? Wait a minute, professional problems need professional talents to solve. Grayson made a phone call, and 2 minutes later, a middle-aged man with a round face and a beard walked in. Bob was an engineer at Northrop Grumman before, and he is very good at the research and development of weapon materials. He introduced it to Wei Chen. Wei Chen shook hands with the uneasy Bob. Bob, it's nice to meet you. Now I want to know how the materials lab is going. I gathered a few former colleagues. Although there is a shortage of talents, the most important thing is the experimental materials and instruments. Those things cannot be solved overnight. Bob didn't know the new boss's temperament, so he answered cautiously. Wei Chen thought for a while, if it really doesn't work, just buy a big laboratory. During the period of Wei Chen's return, he read the information about the future and devoted his energy to the field of materials science. In the future, the nano-variable memory metal of the Titans is a bit far away, and it cannot catch up with the current technology. But metamaterials, artificial composites with extraordinary physical properties, are tech trees that can be climbed. The transparent man of the Super 7, his skin is a kind of supercarbon material, which can be invisible and extremely hard. Wei Chen has been coveting this for a long time. If we want to buy a large laboratory, we need more funds. With the initial investment and casting a wide net, our funds no longer support the sale of a large laboratory. Bob said with some embarrassment. Wei Chen smiled slightly and gently stroked the beard that had just grown from his chin. Is there a problem with funding? I will solve it. In the lounge, Leslie is watching TV. NBC's The Tonight Show with Jimmy is playing. The host Jimmy once worked as a funny one-man show actor, and is a very lively host who can make atmosphere. He once starred in the TV series Band of Brothers, the hapless soldier who appeared at the end of the 5th episode, leading to the classic dialogue, "Paratroopers should have been surrounded." The object of this program interview is the superhero, one of the members of the Super 7 Transparent Man. I'm sure you've all heard that the Invisible Man stopped a burglary in Yankos last night and protected a young mother and her 2 children. It's incredible. Jimmy made his usual exaggerated expression and introduced the heroic deeds of Transparent Man yesterday to the audience. The Transparent Man in a blue suit sitting on the sofa showed a polite smile. His face was thin, his hair was slightly curly, and he looked like a street gangster, even though he was wearing a suit. Tell us, how can you be invisible? The Invisible Man sat up straight and raised his right arm. No, I'm not really invisible. My skin can be turned into a carbon metamaterial that can bend light, just like an invisibility cloak. As he spoke, he showed his abilities to the host. I saw that his arm instantly became transparent. Okay, but we have to ask, you have to be naked, right? Jimmy asked an awkward question. The Invisible Man showed an embarrassed yet polite smile. The next scene, possibly edited, goes straight to Jimmy asking Transparent Man what he thought of his new release, Transparent Man 2, The Power of Invisibility. Actually, I can't control what everyone thinks, whether people like it or not, it's a personal judgment, but I must say, it was a very good movie. Seth Rogen director, producer Manfranco, everyone on the crew is working hard to make the movie better. The Transparent Man said eloquently, as we all know, I prefer the feeling of being in the New York metropolis and saving the people than money. I have very low sensitivity to money. Don't lie to you, Jimmy, once my wife took my suit to the dry cleaners and it was enough to break the clerk because it looked like it was 200 years old. Leslie watched the show on TV and threw the remote aside. Boring. She was wearing a pale red pencil skirt, her long hair fell like a waterfall, and her delicate features were especially noticeable with her upturned nose. With fair skin and long thighs, walking on the street, she has a 99% chance of turning her head back. A beautiful little loli grew up quickly due to the accident of the quantum bridge. The most precious thing is that she didn't grow crooked. Wei Chen pushed open the glass door. When Leslie saw Wei Chen come in, he suddenly fell into his arms. Uncle Eric. Wei Chen was a little overwhelmed with the enthusiastic Leslie's body. Leslie, you are already an adult. After a girl grows into an adult, she must be reserved. Otherwise, people will say she is not a lady. Wei Chen lightly patted Leslie's hair. Leslie pouted, that's not it. The person who makes people bigger without permission is not a gentleman or a lady. She has been dreaming in a daze, dreaming of turning into a bird, dreaming of turning into a running giant. After that, I woke up and became an adult. Leslie once watched a neon anime, which seemed to be called Detective Conan, in which the male protagonist Conan became a small man after being given medicine. Although he is a little different from him, he was given medicine to become an adult. At this time, although Leslie has the body of a mature woman, her mental age is still 7 years old. Therefore, although he somehow became an adult, he didn't feel much sadness either. Leslie, is there something wrong with you? Why didn't you cooperate with the doctor for the examination? Wei Chen patiently asked Leslie. Leslie lowered his head and shook his feet, which were wearing a pair of socks printed with Peppa Pig. I miss my mother. Wei Chen was taken aback. Immediately, a burst of guilt came to my heart. Well, Mom may have gone far away and won't come back for the time being. Leslie, as long as you wait and hope, I believe that Mom will definitely come back. He once promised Leslie to help her find her mother, but now I'm afraid this promise can't be fulfilled. Wei Chen had asked Grayson to organize a salvage boat to salvage the plane where it crashed. But in the vast Atlantic Ocean, looking for someone is like looking for a needle in a haystack. But the only certainty is that the cabin has plunged into the icy Atlantic Ocean. Leslie's mother was sitting in the economy class, so she probably had little chance of surviving. I know where my mother went, Uncle Eric. I'm afraid my mother will never come back. Leslie's mind seemed to have grown a lot overnight, she said sadly with red eyes. Uncle Eric, do you know Aurora? Aurora. She was a princess. www.mtlnovel.com, the daughter of an Austrian duke. One day, on the Friday before Easter, a group of jugglers came to perform for everyone. But Aurora fell asleep at night. Candle light getting weaker and weaker, Aurora's breathing became weaker and her skin was as frozen as snow. The next morning, people found that the light in Aurora's eyes had disappeared. Okay. Wei Chen listened quietly. Then, Aurora entered the lost kingdom of Lemuria. She didn't die, she just entered another continent to adventure. There she met many friends, Firefly Shimmer, Clown, and Dragon. Wei Chen was silent for a while. Your mother, just like Aurora, she entered the lost kingdom to start a new adventure. No, Leslie shook his head. Aurora took back the moon that was robbed by the wicked, but she also became an adult. Just like me, she suddenly grew into an adult. Uncle Eric, I see when I got here, I suddenly wanted to cry, because Aurora has become an adult, and I can never go back to the past, and I can no longer snuggle up to my mother and listen to her tell those fairy tales. Leslie suddenly burst into tears. Aurora returned from Lemuria to the castle where she had lived, but found that her mother had been killed by the Queen of Darkness. She will never see her mother again. Wei Chen lightly patted Leslie on the shoulder and comforted her softly. Leslie, my mother must also hope that you will be brave and strong like Aurora. Okay. Leslie nodded heavily, wiping away the tears from the corners of his eyes. So, like Aurora, I will also defeat the Queen of Darkness. Queen of Darkness. Wei Chen was a little surprised. It's Queen Maeve.